here we are. This is another match in our Sword and Shield trial series. The match we've got right now, I'm particularly excited. I mean, I'm excited about all of them, Evan. But this one I'm particularly excited about because it's Waterbox versus Sableye Obstagoon. And Obstagoon, I've already had to play against it in a previous thing that we recorded. I'm really looking forward to seeing Obstagoon at tournaments. What about you, Evan?
I like Obstagoon. It's actually it's definitely in the top 10 favorite Sword and Shield Pokemon. I don't know how the deck will do, but I think it's really interesting how it functions. And I don't think we've seen a deck quite like it in a while. So we have Sableye versus a Lapras going on. Zach's going first. Quick rundown of his deck. The Sableye that you see right here, the main attack that you're going to want to use it for is the second attack, which for 2 dark energies does 10 plus 60 for each damage counter already on your opponent.
That's a lot.
It can add up real quickly, but how are you going to do that? Well, as you can see, Zach just dropped down the new Galarian Zigzagoon, which, similar to Crobat G from back in the day, if you played that far, puts a single damage counter on your opponent. That's mainly what the Obstagoon and Zigzagoons are going to be used for. Sadly, the middle stage does not put 1, but as we'll see later, the final stage will put 3 damage counters. Similar to Crobat from Phantom Forces. Zach also dropped down Blitzel, which he wants to evolve into Zebstrika, which will discard his hand, but that's all we saw from Zach because he can't play supporter turn 1. But over to Rob's side of the field, he's got that Lapras, which you may be wondering about, but Lapras isn't quite the star of the show. It's VMAX is what we're mostly looking at, which is the new mechanic coming out, which we might see next turn because it does count as an evolution. But the card that's going to set up Rob's deck is the little Snom over there, which will evolve into Frostmoth probably next turn if Rob can get it, which essentially acts as a Rain Dance effect, similar to Deluge Blastoise, or more recently Magnezone, Metal or Electric type. But while it's a stage 1, the cost is that it can only go to bench Pokemon. Lapras on its own isn't quite spectacular. Wave Back definitely helps things getting started. Simply just attach energy, water specifically, to Lapras and then switch. This has synergy with Pokédoll, where if you're having a slow setup and your opponent is just going nuts and popping off, then this will help Lapras get out of the way, and you can bring up a Pokédoll to force your opponent to attack into it. And as a common theme that we'll see later as Sword and Shield is released, Great Catcher cannot bring up Pokemon V.
Hooray! He puts down a Viridian Forest, and if you look at this list here, he's got that, and he's got the energy retrieval. This deck is not going to have any problem getting any energy. I'm going to be very surprised, Evan, if he gets energy drought at any point during this game.
I'd like to know that energy retrieval that you just mentioned. Did you know that it's coming back in Sword and Shield? You can, in fact, use energy retrieval again. So those secret rare ones or whatever you had lying around, those are going to become good again.
Oh, I forgot those existed. I need to get some of those.
So coming back into Zach's turn, he's getting that Zebstrika, as I mentioned, being his main draw support. But he's just going to Cynthia first. Sableye getting powered up on turn 2, so I'm not quite sure if Zach wants to go a rare candy route because he does run regular Linoon and rare candy. So potentially he can drop the Galarian. Well, technically, even though there's no Obstagoon Cantonian variant, the trading card does say Galarian Obstagoon. I'm not sure if you'll have to write that down on deck lists, but it is a mouthful to say Galarian Obstagoon. So I'll try to say Obstagoon as much as I can.
Gobstagoon. There's your portmanteau right there.
Gobstagoon. But it looks like Zach does get the rare candy, and he can put the 3 damage wherever he wants. But I think he put it on the active because I think he'll get a knockout if I'm not mistaken.
That's 250.
Yep. Along with the damage already on Lapras. It'll just be a clean... It's just on turn 2, just going whop, knockout. He even drops that Zigzagoon to ping the Lapras. And then he's going to sprint to get a fresh hand. I believe... What's that card that we got down?
Got a knockout.
Let me see. I believe it's Fion.
Yeah.
Okay, just double check. I'm just not used to the... I'm used to the other art. Zach's blinging out here with the pre-release promo, I believe. Fion has already been released. It seems that Fion might be Zach's way of getting around Pokédolls. I think he predicts those will be popular. But most importantly, having a way to bring up Pokemon V or the Frostmoth. In this particular scenario, Rob will, if he has an attacker up front and Zach Fion's, I don't think there's any good option for Rob to bring up other than just sack a Frostmoth. So Fion might be hurting people coming forward in this Sword and Shield format. Looks like Rob isn't too happy with what's going on in his hand. But I think he does have potential plays. I don't know. I don't think he's ready to quite attack or get things going. But Zach Sableye is putting so much pressure on. I think Rob has to get something going right now.
And he's Zach's got the Galarian Obstagoon on the bench. And its attack does 90 damage, and it prevents all damage done to it from basic Pokemon, which is interesting here because, look at Robert's deck. He has evolution cards, but it's mostly basics that we're dealing with here.
The one way to get around that, though, would be to use Lapras VMAX. However, if that gets attacked by quite literally anything, then Sableye just obliterates it. Like,
yes,
this Sableye is just putting so much pressure, and because Zach is kind of ahead because he went first with the energy attachments, all he got to do next turn is drop another Sableye, attach, and then he'll have his Sableye ready to go. So it seems that the energy attachments aren't really that big of a deal for Zach. However, Rob opted to just pass, so he's letting this Sableye just tear through him. But it seems he just manually retreats into a Pokédoll.
with a lucky egg attached. Oh man, I love that. What's his lucky egg do?
I believe when the Pokemon gets attacked or knocked out, when it gets knocked out, you get to draw until you have 7 cards in your hand, essentially giving you a fresh hand. So Zach's kind of saying, well, you're not doing anything this turn, and I'm ahead, so, we can take things kind of easy. I'll throw up this Pokédoll, so when you're ready to attack, you can give me a fresh hand of 7. Sounds like a win-win to me. It's a positive elixir trade. Put down in the comments if you can guess where that reference is from. I think another interesting thing is that this will give Zach time to drop the Galarian Obstagoon just as he does, pinging damage. It's like, alright, you're not going to do anything? Well, I'm going to put pressure by pinging you. One interesting aspect about Zach's deck is that I don't think he has any way to reuse Obstagoons. So once they come down, it looks like they're going to be stuck there, which is good for Rob.
What's he quick balling for here? I mean, Zach's already set up pretty well. Okay,
Jeez.
just gets another lean in. Or Zigzagoon.
So while Rob doesn't mind Fion getting pushed away, Rob, because he brings up the Polka Doll, Zach is essentially saying, hey, I can keep poking away at you, and I've already taken prizes. You're going to have to do something eventually. And if you do, I get a fresh hand. So it seems like a lose-lose situation to me. Seeing that Palkia down, Frostmoth coming out, will finally allow Rob to get set up, assuming he has the energies. But that might be kind of the problem, is that he doesn't quite have the energies. But with this Viridian, it'll definitely help him out. One cool thing that I personally would like to see is Palkia's GX attack. That is definitely an option, as Rob is focusing on VMAXs. He has one GX attack that he can still use, Zero Vanish, and that could definitely hurt Zach coming into future rounds.
Yeah, this is a new paradigm I think we're going to have to get used to, is with the decline of Pokemon GX. We're going to have a bunch of matches and tournaments where people are like, oh, well, I guess I'm not looking forward to any GX attacks, but they've got this one GX in their deck. They use a GX attack unexpectedly and win game. We're going to see that quite a few times.
So it seems that Rob finally gets stuff going, but does he want to swing is the real question. I mean, Zach's just chilling. He's like saying, hey, I can sit here pretty much all day. There's no real pressure to move. But it looks like Rob's going to go in for the kill.
Yep.
But as we mentioned previous times earlier, that Lucky Egg is going to give Zach a fresh new hand. So as we mentioned, basically the star of the show, Rob's deck, we got the Lapras VMAX, which G-Max Pump, as he just used, for 3 colorless energy, does 90 plus 30 for each water you add. So that gives the potential for infinite damage, and being able to just slam energy because of the Frostmoth, and then because of these new VMAX and tag team Pokemon, it's definitely really good to have a way to one-shot them. I think the only way we could had infinite damage before in our last format was Magcargo GX, which was used in Mewtwo. But thankfully, we have another Pokemon that can shine, and Rob is definitely going to try to make that happen. But looking on to Zach's turn, he's kind of thinking a little bit. He brings up this Substrika with the U-turn. He's just going to trash that Evolution Incense with Viridian. Evolution Incense works wonders for Zach's deck, as he can grab Laloon, Obstagoon, and Substrika. I believe that's all, but those are key components of his deck, and he wants to get all this stuff going forward. Looks like Zach's not quite ready to swing, so he just throws another Lucky Egg and Polka Doll. Seems like Polka Doll is going to be a huge card going forward. I think it was used most in Doll Stall in our current format, but as you can see in these in our Sword and Shield testing videos, we're utilizing it quite a bit. Looks like Rob's finally getting that Palkia set up. Maybe he's ready to go for the big Zero Vanish. He gets the energies. Does he have a way to get out and preserve the energy, or is he just gonna manually retreat? Seems like he's just going to opt to manually retreat and go for that big zero vanish. Thanos snapping all of Zach's energy away. So now Zach is honestly left with really nothing. And he's lost 2 Pokédoll. He's only running 1 more in deck. And if he doesn't have anything else going on, he's just going to be taking a beat down from this Palkia. Goes for the Pokemon communication. So now that the Pokédoll is gone, that frees up a spot to start nailing damage counters onto this big Lapras. I think Zach has the damage lined up to where when he gets that Sableye set up, it will be one-shotting the Lapras and the Palkia. You gotta be real good at math to line everything up to knock out these VMAX Pokemon. Lapras specifically has 320, so Zach wants to get... Oh man, I think he needs 6 energy. I think 6 is the threshold. 6 times 6, that'd be 320.
Oh, Zach's saying 5.
300 plus the 40 on it. 300 plus. There we go. See, this is why I'm not playing Obstagoon. I mean, 6 still works. You're just doing overkill, and I think you want to make sure every damage matters. And I think that's a unique skill that's going to be introduced moving forward, is counting the damage and memorizing the numbers where everything adds up. Because if you're 1 off, you miss the knockout.
Yep.
Or if you go over, then you wasted damage.
And this is why, of our team members, Zach is always the one I go to first when I need someone to consult with on matters of arithmetic. He knows what he's doing with this deck.
Looks like Zach's got the use out of the Zigzagoon, so he's just going to throw it away. I kind of think that...
Oh, he discards the Misty and Lorelei.
Oh, man. Looks like...
Oh...
Looks like Rob is going to keep up that pressure by doing Zero Vanish over and over again. Thankfully for Zach, that's his one big trump card, being able to do it twice. And after this, going forward, Rob's going to be just bulldozing Zach's field. But I think the big problem is that Zach has all the damage lined up, ready to go.
So you should only be at 40. You're right.
Looks like we're getting damage straightened out. As I've been saying, like, all this damage needs to be on point, ready to go. Yeah. Looks like Zach got a little confused about Zero Vanish. Thankfully, nothing's going to mess up because Zero Vanish shuffles in. So Zach wasn't going to get his top deck regardless. Zach proving there that he does have the last Pokédoll. But I don't think he's going to need it except for this turn. If he can get it, then he'll be able to throw it up, and then Sableye will finally be able to knock out this Palkia. But I think a big problem for Zach is going to be those energy attachments. The big worry that I've had with this whole deck is the energy attachments. Rob has been harassing the Sableye with Zero Vanish, and then because there's no energy acceleration, Zach is going to have to get this Sableye set up, knock out this Palkia, and then he's going to have to set up a whole nother Sableye.
Yep, he's ahead on prizes, but that looks like that could change any moment now.
Looks like Zach opts to put down the Fiona. He can push something away, but not quite sure what he wants to look for. Going back to the other turn, I haven't played this deck, but I feel like you would have wanted to keep the Zigzagoon unless U-turn Born. The only reason I can see is U-turn Born to get out of the way But I feel like it would have been better to lose a Galarian Obstagoon, because that turn he could have dropped the Linoon that he discarded with Viridian, and then as you can see, that instance could have searched the last Obstagoon, or if he drew it off the prizes, he would still be getting those last 3 damage counters. But because of that, he lost out on 30 damage. Will it bite him in the butt? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out soon, but I think Zach knows what he's doing. And he just finally gets that Sableye set up, and he's going to just scoop it. He's going to scoop up that Palkia. Adios. Going down to 2 prizes. Rob sends up the Frostmoth because of its new item, Air Balloon, which I think is amazing. It simply reduces your Pokemon's retreat cost by 2. And with Frostmoth, that's perfect. So he gets a great pivot instead of needing to bring up the Pokédoll. Another big deal with the Air Balloon is...
Get that damage off the Lapras.
So now it can come in clean.
Big brain play right there.
Oh, man. I think things are going to go south for Zach, honestly. Like the big concerns that I've been talking about, they're coming true. And unless Zach's got some dark patch somehow to... Oh, man, there it is.
We go to game 2.
I really gotta make sure this energy doesn't stack out.
So we got some good plays on both sides. And it looked like Zach had an advantage there. Looks like his board was excellent. But that GX attack from Robert, man, that really seems to have sealed the deal for him in that one.
Nick and I were just talking a little earlier how we thought things were going to go.
That moment when I just found out he had...
As you might be able to hear our players laughing. Things going on. Reminiscing about what happened during that match.
I was telling Rob, I got Yveltal GX off my prizes, and if he didn't, he'll do 4 damage counters. I just want to get Doom counted.
So Zach's big plan to wrap up the game was to bring in Yveltal GX. And if your opponent's active has exactly 4 damage counters, then it's instantly knocked out. And with Galarian, Zigzagoon, and Obstagoon, it adds up perfectly. So it looks like Zach is opting to go first, correct?
Yeah.
So Zach is down a game, but he's going first. Maybe things can go his way. Rob's kind of pressed about making a big decision about what he wants to start. But as I was mentioning earlier, Nick and I were kind of thinking about how these matches were going to go, and I brought up the concern about Zero Vanish. But it seems that Zach was so close. I think because of Zero Vanish, that won Rob the game. And if he can replicate the same strategy going into this one, I think Rob can pick it up. The well-timed Malolana harassing the energies with Zero Vanish. I think Rob has the tools to make this a perfect 50-50 matchup. It just depends on if both players draw well, can both players get their Pokemon set up. Assuming they both draw relatively well, this is seemingly a perfect 50-50. Both players have the tools to jockey back and forth. Even though Zach had that big lead and all the damage and everything lined up, Rob just said, Zero Vanish, Malolana, good game.
Yeah, I do think that that they are evenly matched here. But the one advantage is that Robert can do the Zero Vanish GX, but Yveltal GX's attack only requires 1 energy. So even if you've got even if Zach has trouble with energy acceleration, he can still use his abilities to get damage on a Pokemon, and then just Yveltal GX, use that GX, and just get a free knockout. No knockout is truly free. You do have to earn it, but that's what I like to call it.
I mean, because of Zigzagoon, you put it down instantly. It's an insta-playable. And you were going to evolve Obstagoon anyways. So I think it's really free because it just... You were doing this stuff anyways, and Yveltal just fits in the deck perfectly. Yveltal never really had a home in any deck, really. I feel you. I don't think Yveltal had a home, and I think this is the perfect opportunity for Yveltal to shine.
Exactly.
Looks like Rob is also getting his setup pretty good.
Yeah, but he had to get rid of that evolution incense. Oh my gosh. Yeah, 2 of them. Ooh.
So while Rob had to get rid of the evolution instance, Zach didn't get turn 1 attachment. That's really what you want to do with this Sablegoon deck.
Yep.
And because he missed it, he essentially lost turn 1.
And that no turn 1 supporter really hurt him. He just Cynthia'd, and he better not whiff an energy this time or he's in big trouble.
You sacrifice the turn 1 supporter for evolving early and getting that energy attachment. But he didn't get the energy attachment, so it just kind of... You lost all the benefit. He gets the Linoon set up. Oh, he attaches for turn. Onto the Linoon. And looks... What will he get? He's going... So it looks like he's going straight for an Obstagoon strategy. I think he kind of realized that he's not quite going to get that Sableye set up. So I think he's going just straight forward to get his Goon set up.
Night Slash for 20.
Ooh, Night Slash. I didn't think we would see how this would go. So, looks like Zach used an attack that I didn't think would be used at all, but Zach found a use for it. Because of the U-turn board, he could retreat the Blitzel, and then Linoon's first attack, Night Slash, 20, and then switch with one of the bench.
Yeah, when I tested this card, the Galarian Linoon, we did use Night Slash quite a bit, especially if you've got Pokemon that are safe, like Lily's Pokédoll to switch with.
I think it's... Maybe that's where the Pokédolls came in. It's like, at first I'm going to drop my Zigzagoons, and then I'm going to evolve them, do a little ping, and then switch into Pokédoll.
Ooh, we got a VMAX evolution here.
Rob gets the turn 2 VMAX. He gets the Frostmoth as well, so those evolution instants aren't really hurting them that bad. I think it's interesting that he ditches the Frostmoth. I think he's only really going to need 2. It seems that, unlike Zach's other deck, he's not running any gust effects, except for Pokemon Catcher, which is also coming similar to how Rob is bringing back Energy Retrieval. Zach is bringing back Pokemon Catcher, which is seeing common play in Japan, as if you manage to get the coin flip, you get that gust effect on anything. And if you have the room to run possibly like 4 of them, you essentially can have Guzma all over again. But of course, it is limited by a coin flip.
I wanted Magnolia so bad, but I had my Palkia back in my hand.
Sounds good. Just toss it.
Just
Be fine.
do what you want.
Rob mentions that he had Palkia in his hand, but knowing that's a key card to this strategy, and especially against this matchup, he couldn't afford to Magnolia it away. So instead, Cynthia to keep the cards in hand. He's really looking to put up some pressure because Zach isn't having too good of a setup. And I think if Rob can get set up, he's just going to bulldoze with his Lapras VMAX. Oh man, if Zach keeps dead drawing too much longer, it might be the end of the road. But as we saw last game, just because you're ahead in the beginning doesn't mean you've won the game quite yet. And Zach can easily get a Sableye to swing and just chew up this big VMAX.
Got an unfortunate KO here against the Pokemon Zach was using to help set up.
So now Zach won't have his Obstagoon to help get fresh hands. So
Is Obstagoon one retreat?
so looks like
Zigzagoon's one retreat.
so looks like
New
Oh,
back
that's
here.
right. That's right. Yeah.
looks like Zach just goes for the Cynthia. If he didn't have that Cynthia, I think he might have been out of the game. Because he would have lost the Zigzagoon, he would have had to bring up maybe like
I didn't have Cynthia. I wouldn't have left the select.
zoned out for a quick second there. But as Zach was kind of mentioning, one potential scenario is that he gets the Obstagoon like from the incense, and then if he happens to have all he needs is a quick ball or the Eva, and it looks like he's got the quick ball. He's gonna ditch a dark. Oh no, he can draw if he has it in deck. Oh, there it is.
Yes, we've been waiting for this.
Just as I mentioned, just because you have a lead does not mean you are out of the game quite yet. And just like Rob used Palkia to get back in the game, Zach's gonna say, "Fine, I'm gonna use my Evital's big GX attack to knock you out." How do you feel about that?
Hit the other ladder.
Doom Count GX, we're just going to read it. If your opponent's active Pokemon has exactly 4 damage counters on it, that Pokemon is knocked out.
Zach takes such a huge lead going forward. That was the turn Zach needed to get back in the game. And I was just mentioning, it's like if Zach just has one good turn, he can turn things around. And if Rob doesn't deal with his Evital, Zach has the bench space to drop down a Sableye and attach to it. And now that the Evital's had its purpose, he doesn't mind just sacking it or just doing the first attack. You know, there's just so many possibilities with Zach's deck. But we'll see how Rob retaliates going forward. Ooh, he drops down the Oricorio, which I don't think we saw last game. With the Pokedolls and Lapras getting knocked out, Oricorio will allow you to draw 3. And especially for this Frostmoth deck, needing as many energies and as many energy retrievals as possible to load up Laprases and Palkias, you're going to need as many cards in your hand as possible. Rob saying busted. It looks he might have something going on, but I'm not quite sure. He drops the VMAX, and he has the energies to just nuke this Eve. Yep. Ooh, he drops the reset stamp. This could he resets stamp Zach down to 3, and with no Zebstrika anymore, he doesn't have a way to get out of it. And Zach's a stage 2 deck and needing these energy attachments. This might be the reset stamp that gets Rob back in the game.
I was just doing the math here to figure out. So the Yveltal GX has 180 HP. 3 energy is enough on a Lapras VMAX to get a knockout. And we've got it. So what about you? Post in the comments. Do you think Lapras VMAX is going to have a huge impact on the metagame?
Or Sableye, too. Don't leave out Sableye. They're both potentially great cards.
I already know Sableye's good. I don't need someone to tell me that.
I could see either of these decks winning cups. As for regionals, we'll have to see how the meta goes coming forward into this Sword and Shield format. But definitely cups. I think these decks have potential. Maybe the Sableye deck, because it's a best of 1, maybe stage 2 isn't quite the way you want to go. But Rob's Water Box deck, I could definitely see it winning cups.
Which attack is a more busted attack for your next League Cup? Doom Count GX or Zero Vanish GX? Post in the comments. Like and subscribe.
While Zach's trying to get his footing going and trying to set things up, looks like he's going to go for an obstruct, but part of the problem with that is that Lapras is a VMAX. It's not a basic, so Lapras can just nuke this Obstagoon. But, as Zach already prepared with the Lucky Egg, he's going to get a fresh hand. So just like with the Pokedolls earlier, it's saying, hey, you want to knock me out? Fine, you're going to help me set up. So in case your Zebstrika gets knocked out, it's kind of like a backup plan. While your decks don't necessarily have a straight draw engine, the one with Zebstrika line and the Lucky Egg, the two Lucky Eggs, seem to be working wonders for Zach. So I think he did just go ahead and obstruct, and now Rob's just going to have this huge tanky Lapras just go ahead and get trucking. But I think Rob would like to see a backup plan. Even though if this Lapras gets knocked out, because it's 3 prizes, just like tag teams, he will lose the game if it gets knocked out. But I feel like one potential way to go about this is get potentially Palkia on the bench and then go ahead and no, it looks like Zach's just, oh never mind. Okay, Lucky Egg.
Another
Lucky Egg.
Yeah, and look at his list. I mean, he's only running 2 Lucky Egg, but he's gotten both of them every time. Insane
because
prizes.
of the Lucky Egg. Because of the Lucky Egg.
The luckiest egg.
And that is recursive if I've ever heard it.
Jeez. A big problem with Rob in this scenario is that he can't... So Zach has no energy on the field, but if Zach drops a Sableye and attaches, he's safe because of the Pokedolls. But if Rob had the space to run custom catchers, then he could harass Sableyes over and over and over again. But like we've been mentioning, and what's been a big thing, is that catchers aren't really good anymore. Like Zach has been going, even though we haven't seen it this game, the Pokemon catcher, I think, is the way to go, even though it's unreliable with the coin flip. Like, I'll admit that, but if you can hit that coin flip, you don't have to discard, it's not limited, and you don't need 2 Poke catchers at the same time. So it looks like Zach's fine, just taking it easy. I believe they're tied on prizes, so... Oh, he's 2? Oh yeah, because he knocked out the Evital and he knocked out the Obstagoon. It was just kind of hard to tell from here, but looks like Rob isn't doing too bad. Did he switch or something? Or sorry, I missed that.
Retreated to the
manual.
Fiend.
Oh, he got Fiend. Okay. I'm kind of interested. Did Rob have the air balloon on the Frostmoth before, or did he just get that?
That's been there.
It's
Kinda.
been there for a while.
Been there since turn 2.
Well, I'm kind of... Was there...
I don't want to go down 2 prizes because I want to rely on a 2 prize attacker. So he doesn't just take out the VMAX. Because he wasn't gonna knock out that Oricorio no matter what.
I mean, but still, you'd have the pivot. Okay, well, you got the air balloon there, so I guess it doesn't
I
matter.
had the air balloon.
Oh, you had it the whole time?
And forcing another Lucky Egg draw. Man, I love this card.
See, I'm seeing it much more now. I was just kind of curious, about bringing up the Frostmoth to begin with, because you still retreated. But I think it's a great strategy from Rob to be using the Lapras. Because he couldn't get the Palkia going, I think Lapras might be the way to go.
Which card do you think is going to take off in premier events? Lucky Egg or Air Balloon? Go ahead. Let us know what you think.
None of it feels good.
I think both players have found great uses for both cards. As you can see, both cards shining bright.
Two after you
Oh,
swing.
okay. Thank you.
Return
So-
two after you swing.
So it looks like Zach is just trying to get his Sableye going. And Rob's going to have to plow through these polka dolls before he can get to actually taking prizes.
I hate you so much right now.
Rob's sounded not too happy about the way things going. Shot looking through the deck, see what he's got. Not quite sure. Man, things are kind of slowing down with the polka dots. He's going for the Frostmoth, interestingly. What does the Frostmoth have a good attack that
2 for 30.
2 for 30. Looks like Rob can use those to poke away at the polka dolls instead of using his main attackers.
Yep.
So
Only
that
yields one prize.
yeah. But interestingly, if Rob loses the Lapras, well, even if Rob loses the Lapras, then he forces Zach.
But I can't accelerate energy to it in the active. And I need 4.
Yep. So Icy Snow Dance only works on benched Pokemon. So he's got to plan who's active and who's benched carefully.
There we go. Finally bringing up the Frostmoth, and I didn't think we'd be seeing an Aurora Beam to take out these polka dots, but it's certainly doing the job.
Peacocks and Stricken.
And Zach does not get a lucky egg off of this Lily's polka doll this time because he ran out.
I think Zach's time is almost up, to be honest. He's got to think of something fast. Like, he's got to get something going. And I think the biggest problem is that he's already used his GX, and he needs Sableye to one-shot I think the main plan for Zach is gonna be.
I was just about to say.
There we go.
Come here, Max.
Oh my God! I
Are we
think
getting
that
a
might
game
be
3?
that might be it.
And guaranteed darkness energy with Viridian. He's got it. He's got it. Oh my gosh.
Well, Zach
3 prizes.
Zach just did it before I could say it, but I was gonna say he needs the Poke Gear. I mean the Poke Catcher. Zach just did it faster than I could say it.
So we've still got time left for a game 3, and everyone.
Don't forget the Viridian.
You'll get
Yep.
back for a second.
Everyone is one game here. All right, and Robert elects to go first.
Just like I've been saying this whole match, just because you have the lead doesn't mean you're just gonna run through the game.
Yeah, that was
I'm really glad that that's not how the games are going. Oh, I set up first, I win, or I took the first knockout, I'm gonna win. It's really going back and forth, and I think we're seeing a perfect 50-50 going on. And you really get to see both decks shine and get their strategies
When I
going.
didn't have the Evital prize, I was like, yes. It was in my starting hand, and I'm like, I don't want to start.
I know, so you Pokemon the shame. I'm like, oh crap. There she is. What are we at time wise?
Yeah.
Who knows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You've got 15 minutes left. So what do you think? That was a pretty epic ending for Game 2. Zach whipped out the Pokemon Catcher, which people know about, but, it'll be a surprise for sure. Do you think that Game 2 was epic? Do you think we can top that ending for Game 3?
Jeez, I mean, both players start Pokemon that they would kind of want. I mean, Zach would like to get that damage from the Zigzagoon, but because he started it, he's not going to get it. And Rob has a fine start getting the air balloon and energy on the Snom. couldn't ask for too much, especially with this deck. He'll be able to evolve next turn, and I think he can actually swing if he has the energies and the supporter and all that. So if Rob pops up, he will be able to swing. Whereas Zach, on the other hand, he gets a Zigzagoon to ping the Snom, but he'll need a draw supporter to get things going. Or Zach saying, it's only just begun.
The egg.
Rob's dreading these polka dolls and the eggs. Like, I don't know how much Rob can take it. I think he's getting kind of fed up with these dolls.
Palkia makes it so the dolls aren't a problem. But I could just never get it down on the bench. I needed the Oricorio, unfortunately, for draw support.
Both players are just setting up as usual. Kind of running. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what there's more to really. You got anything?
No, this starting is pretty vanilla here. We don't have any big damage early. We've got Lily's Polka Doll on the bench. But, all right. Things might get exciting here with the Sableye V.
Looks like Zach's... I think he's just going to manual retreat.
He's getting these eggs, man. Every time.
Let's scramble these eggs, go.
Rob's just tired of the eggs and the dolls. I mean, you know, normally when you're taking a knockout on a Pokemon, you should be getting somewhere. But Zach's making it so the exact opposite happens. It's like, oh, thanks for helping me out. I think one thing I would like to comment on that we haven't seen is the one of Mimikyu Shadow Box. It states that only GXs that have any damage counters on them have no abilities. We could see that come in to stop Oricorio on Rob's end, but as the meta shifts towards VMAX and non-GX Pokemon like these Frosmoths, Mimikyu might fall out of play. I mean, everyone was hyping up Mimikyu, but as we've been going further and further, Mimikyu is kind of fallen to the wayside.
Oh, yeah, and this is just one of my favorite dynamics we're going to see in the game in these next few weeks as Sword and Shield, is legal, is what happens to effects in the game that affect GX Pokemon only. Are we going to have to worry about it so much? And we've got another Pokédoll versus Pokédoll situation here.
These guys are just going to take it. So they're like, fine, you want to be a Pokédoll? I'll be a Pokédoll. And, I didn't think we'd see the day where we have Pokédoll versus Pokédoll. It's like a stare down. It's like a Mexican...
It's a Metapod versus Metapod.
Yeah,
TV show.
It's literally what it is. Metapod versus Metapod. And the harden is the egg. We're just...
I'm glad someone got to use their evolution incense there instead of having to discard it.
Imagine having to discard your evolution incense.
Ooh, and we got a Cynthia here. And notice that in his list he's playing both Cynthia and he's playing Magnolia. Both cards are really good. I'm excited about a discard and draw 7 card.
Rob getting a fresh hand has some pretty. I would say it's getting to be a decently sized decision, yeah. Just about how he's gonna maybe just order of operations.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man, this is a stumper.
I mean, obviously you do want to play the quick ball. It's like, but what do I discard, and then what do I do next? Grabbing the Dene, I think. So Rob's probably thinking, "Oh, I need to get more going. This hand ain't doing it for me. I need some more than. Come on, give me more than this. This just ain't doing it."
He's already used his supporter for the turn, but He wants more. Oh, and he discards, just like last game. He was having to discard his incense. He's doing it this game too.
And he also discards that reset stamp. And that's personally one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of reset stamp. But, that's just me.
Ooh.
Looks like he's going for another quick ball.
Gets rid of
getting that
communication.
Palkia. What do you think about not using the VMAX this game? Because, one of the things that...
It did lose him the game, but he did take knockouts with it.
Yeah, but if...
That makes the Obstagoon a win con.
That's true. But, to be fair, if you can... Obstagoon only states prevent all damage. So if Rob can get Zero Vanish to do what he did the first game, that Obstagoon wouldn't get a chance.
Right.
And then the one turn he does finally get the Obstagoon, maybe Rob will go down, or Zach will go down to 2 prizes. Then that's when Rob can drop the VMAX. So I think the last game, I don't think he had much of a choice because he wanted to bulldoze through. But I think now, because he went first, I think he has the time to decide on which attackers do I want to use. Yeah. And last game, I don't think... Did we see the Zero Vanish? I don't think we did see the Zero Vanish last game.
No, I think he was thinking about it, but he didn't actually pull it off.
Definitely taking a different dynamic this game, and different line. Here we see the Pokemon catcher. Does he get it? Went off. No. And this is one of the main concerns with running the Pokemon catcher, is that you whiff it. If Zach had gotten that Pokemon catcher, then he could have knocked out the Frosmoth, and then Rob wouldn't be able to drop these energies, and then Cynthia, he would have to manually attach and then take things easy. I mean, still, no, he couldn't just take things easy because Zach's got a Zigzagoon, which can evolve into Obstagoon, and then he can drop his other 2 zigzags and then just obliterate whatever's in the active. So Rob really could not have afforded to lose that Frosmoth there. And Zach... Here, the Zero Vanish is coming through. This is exactly my main concerns that I've mentioned countless times about the energy attachments. It's just, will Zach be able to do what he did last game and just throw up Pokédolls over and over and over and over again?
So clearly he's getting ready for a Zero Vanish. The numbers... I don't like them for Robert. It does, Zero Vanish does 150, and Zach's got Sableye V, which is, 170 HP.
Oh, yeah.
The Galarian Obstagoon, which is 160 HP. But he's knocking out a basic a Zigzagoon, so he's fine on the knockout because 150 is more than enough.
I think a more devastating play, and along with Zero Vanish, if it came down to it, one really cool thing that Rob could theoretically do, I don't think we've seen it yet, but if it came to...
So bad.
Was it?
So
Yikes. Our first 2 games were great, but that missing that catcher... I feel confident in saying that missing the catcher lost Zach the game, but it could have won him the game. That's just what's so crazy about the dynamic of a coin flip, But the first 2 games, you got to see how both players' strategies wanted to go. But Zach, I sound like a broken record, but those are the problems with Zach's deck, and And if that happens in a best of 1, maybe you're in a League Cup, and that happens to you, that could just lose you cut.
It could, and that's unfortunate. What do you think about coin flips affecting the outcomes of matches, especially now that we're going to have to deal with Pokemon Catcher? Post in the comments. And we're N to 1 for game. Check out more videos just like this one. We're going to publish more videos where we test out decks from the new set. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Ariados. Goodbye.
Goodbye.